Good morning. We welcome you this morning to Heart of Longmont. My name is Claire McNulty-Drews. I'm the pastor here, and it's certainly a privilege to have you. We're so glad that you've chosen to join us this morning.
Good morning. I'm Emily Fahrenkoff. I'm the youth director here at Heart of Longmont, and I would like to invite our seniors up here. That's Natalie Yoder and Rhea Howard. I'm sure this is very comfortable for them. And Braden Tate, congratulations to all three of you. And wherever you find yourselves in your life after high school and in your faith journeys, I hope that you always know that you have a home here at the Heart of Longmont. Congratulations.
The word neighbor is actually an Old English word that came from nearby, kind of. So people who live near to you. So that's kind of where we started thinking, well, it's just the person who lives close to me. We served a community of people who we don't really know their names, but we do know that they are our neighbors. They're people that we're going to be helping out. So our neighbors are everyone that's around us, not just the people who live nearby.
We all know what it feels like to feel alone and isolated. And I think that when this happens in public spaces, it's probably the worst. With this film, along with landlocked films called This Is Not Who We Are, it's about race and inclusion, and it's been doing wonderful things to really connect people and have people having important discussions about racial equity. But I have to tell you, it's been hard doing this work. There's been so much praise, but sometimes negative voices feel so loud. Just when I started to feel cynical or like this is an endless climb, she reminded me how reaching out does make a difference. And then I don't feel so alone. Thank you.
Imagine, if you will, a nation of neighbors. Given what we've heard about the scripture this morning, the reflection that you gave for the children, what would it be like if we lived in a nation of neighbors? At its highest expression, I believe that the purpose of church in the world or any faith community is to equip us to be a nation of neighbors. That within the context of our faith communities, we put into practice these teachings that Jesus and the apostles and those who came before them shared, and then other people in their climates and in their times who all tried to connect with that sense of belonging. Being a pastor, I moved into a space in the nonprofit sector for an organization that's called Unify, and it's spelled Y-O-U-N-I-F-Y. And the reason why we spell it that way is because we're inviting folks in the process of unifying, locating themselves, figuring out who they are, what's their story, what's their narrative, who are they in the process of becoming. If anything, I would say that the situation that we're looking at, and this is my perspective, is that there is a complete lack of good Samaritans or good Americans in this country. So many of us are afraid to get involved. We're afraid to engage ourselves in the story. We'd rather be bystanders and be passive listeners or voyeurs of some sort. The teaching of this tradition is the Good Samaritan. The teacher of this tradition is a nation of neighbors. The teaching of this tradition is to love God with all your heart and mind and soul, and love your neighbor and your enemy as yourself. If I have any anger, I'd probably aim it at myself if I ever don't step up, if I ever don't say what needs to be said. I'll reserve my anger for myself. And for everyone else, I'll say to you, I understand what it feels like to know who you are when you're by yourself and be somebody else when you're out in the streets. And I know that gap between this is not who we are and this is who I'm in the process of becoming seems like it's a broad chasm. But that's why you have community. That's why you have each other. That's why you should communicate with each other from a place of responsibility, not shaming, not blaming, and not justifying. Because the justice system, justification comes from the same place. It's just to bring you back into equity. But if you use it to explain why you're not acting equitably, then, well, you're not being a good neighbor. But you can always be a better one.